The cafe went silent before anyone even understood what had happened. 1 second, a group of loud men were laughing at the quiet single dad sitting alone with his coffee. The next, every chair had shifted, every threat had disappeared, and the man they mocked had moved with such speed and precision that it looked almost unreal. No punches were thrown, no innocent person was hurt, yet within 2 seconds the entire room realized they had picked the wrong person. But what shocked everyone even more was not how he moved, it was why a man with those skills had chosen a simple, forgotten life. Before we begin, if you believe kindness matters more than appearances and that everyone deserves a second chance, please like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe for more emotional stories that remind us never to judge a person by what we see. Every morning before sunrise, Daniel Harper followed the same routine. He woke up in a small apartment that overlooked an aging neighborhood where dreams often seemed to fade with the peeling paint on the buildings. His 6-year-old daughter, Lily, was the reason he smiled before his feet even touched the floor. She had lost her mother 3 years earlier after a long battle with illness, and since that day Daniel had promised himself that no matter how difficult life became, Lily would never feel alone. He braided her hair the best he could, packed her lunch with little handwritten notes, and walked her to school every single day before heading to work as a maintenance technician. Few people noticed him. Those who did simply saw another exhausted single father wearing worn-out boots and faded clothes. Money was always tight. Daniel skipped meals so Lily could enjoy her favorite fruit. He repaired his own shoes with glue because buying a new pair meant sacrificing something his daughter needed. At work he accepted every overtime shift available, yet he never complained. His coworkers assumed he lacked ambition, never realizing that years earlier he had lived a life filled with missions so dangerous they were never spoken about in public. He carried invisible scars that no one could see, memories that still woke him in the middle of the night. He had once belonged to one of the world's most elite military units, but after losing friends and returning home emotionally broken, he chose to disappear into an ordinary life where his greatest mission became raising his daughter with love. Friday afternoons became their tradition. After picking Lily up from school, Daniel always took her to a small neighborhood cafe. They shared one slice of chocolate cake because buying two felt wasteful, and Lily always insisted her father take the larger piece. The cafe staff quietly admired them. They noticed how Daniel always listened carefully whenever Lily talked about school, how he celebrated even the smallest victories, and how his tired eyes suddenly filled with light whenever she laughed. In a world rushing toward bigger dreams, Daniel had already found his greatest purpose. That afternoon, however, the peaceful routine was interrupted. A group of well-dressed businessmen entered the cafe speaking loudly enough for everyone to hear. They occupied the largest table and quickly filled the room with jokes, expensive watches, and careless arrogance. When they noticed Daniel's patched jacket and old boots, their whispers became laughter. They assumed he was unemployed, unsuccessful, and incapable of standing up for himself. Their mocking smiles grew even wider when they saw him carefully counting coins before paying for Lily's dessert. Daniel ignored them. His attention remained on Lily as she proudly showed him a drawing she had made at school. Nothing else mattered. The laughter continued until Lily accidentally dropped her colored pencils. As Daniel bent down to help her, one of the men kicked a pencil farther away, finding amusement in the child's confusion. Another made a sarcastic remark loud enough for nearby customers to hear. Daniel looked at his daughter first, making sure she wasn't frightened. Then he slowly stood. His face remained calm, almost expressionless. Years of discipline had taught him that true strength was measured by restraint, not anger. Before anyone could predict what would happen next, one of the businessmen reached toward Daniel's shoulder with the intention of pushing him aside. That single careless movement awakened instincts Daniel had spent years trying to bury. In less than 2 seconds, he redirected the man's arm, controlled his balance, stepped between him and Lily, and positioned himself so perfectly that every aggressive person in the room suddenly found themselves unable to move without losing control. It was clean, efficient, and astonishingly fast. No punches landed. No furniture was broken, yet every person watching instinctively stepped back. The confidence on the businessmen's faces disappeared, replaced by confusion and fear. Daniel immediately released his hold and calmly picked up Lily's pencils as though nothing unusual had happened. His breathing never changed. His heartbeat remained steady. The cafe was silent except for the sound of a coffee machine in the background. Customers stared in disbelief, wondering how an ordinary maintenance worker had displayed skills that belonged only in action movies. An elderly man sitting near the window slowly stood. His eyes remained fixed on Daniel's posture. Unlike everyone else, he recognized it immediately. Decades earlier he had served in the military and had witnessed elite operators train with identical movements. He quietly approached Daniel and simply thanked him for protecting his daughter without hurting anyone. Daniel responded with a humble nod, hoping the moment would end there. But fate had other plans. One of the cafe employees had unknowingly recorded the incident on a security camera that clearly captured Daniel's incredible restraint. The footage spread online after another customer requested permission to share it. Millions watched a father refuse to respond with unnecessary violence despite being mocked and threatened. Viewers became fascinated not because of the speed of his movements but because of the tenderness he showed immediately afterward as he knelt beside Lily and continued helping her organize her pencils. Within days, journalists tried to uncover Daniel's identity. Former military personnel quietly confirmed that only someone with extraordinary special operations training could move with such precision. Yet Daniel refused interviews. He continued fixing broken pipes, replacing light fixtures, walking Lily to school, and visiting the same cafe every Friday. To him, fame meant nothing. Peace meant everything. The businessmen eventually returned to the cafe, not with arrogance but with regret. They had learned about Daniel's past and realized they had judged a man whose greatest achievement was not surviving dangerous missions but choosing compassion after experiencing unimaginable hardship. They apologized sincerely. Daniel accepted without hesitation because bitterness was another burden he refused to let Lily inherit. He wanted his daughter to grow up believing forgiveness required more courage than revenge. Months later, the cafe displayed a small framed message near the entrance. It reminded every customer that clothes never reveal character, silence never reveals weakness, and kindness often hides extraordinary strength. Regular visitors smiled whenever they read those words because everyone remembered the afternoon when one quiet father changed the atmosphere of an entire room without throwing a single punch. If this story has touched your heart so far, please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who needs a reminder that true strength is shown through humility and compassion. Special request: comment below with "Kindness is strength" if you believe we should never judge someone by their appearance. Daniel never became famous in the way heroes usually do. His name never appeared in history books, and medals remained hidden inside an old wooden box beneath his bed. But every evening, when Lily wrapped her arms around him and whispered that he was the best father in the world, he knew he had already received the greatest honor life could offer. The world might remember the incredible 2 seconds that silenced an entire cafe, but Lily would always remember the thousands of ordinary moments that proved her father was a hero long before anyone else noticed. And perhaps that is the greatest lesson of all. The strongest people are often the quietest, carrying invisible battles while choosing kindness every single day. Daniel Harper thought the attention would disappear after a few weeks, but instead, it seemed to follow him everywhere. People recognized him at grocery stores, gas stations, and even outside Lily's school. Some wanted photographs. Others wanted to hear stories about his military service. Daniel politely declined every request. He had spent years trying to leave that chapter of his life behind. The man in the cafe had not been a soldier looking for a fight. He had simply been a father protecting the only family he had left. For Lily, however, life had become more complicated. A few classmates admired her father, but others whispered that he must enjoy hurting people because of the video they had seen online. Those comments hurt her deeply. One afternoon she came home unusually quiet, pushing her dinner around the plate without taking a bite. Daniel noticed immediately. He had spent years reading danger in hostile environments, but nothing sharpened his instincts more than recognizing sadness in his daughter's eyes. That evening, after they finished washing the dishes together, Daniel sat beside Lily on the apartment balcony as the city lights flickered in the distance. He explained that people often misunderstand what strength truly means. Real strength, he told her, is not the ability to win a fight. It is the ability to walk away when your pride tells you to fight. It is choosing patience when anger feels easier. It is protecting others without becoming cruel yourself. Lily listened carefully, and although the pain in her heart did not disappear overnight, she began to understand that her father's greatest lesson had never been how fast he could move. It was how gently he chose to live. A few days later, another unexpected test arrived. Daniel was walking home from work when he noticed smoke rising from a small apartment building only 2 blocks away. Panic filled the street as frightened residents rushed outside. An elderly woman stood near the entrance crying uncontrollably because her husband was still trapped inside on the 2nd floor. Firefighters had been called, but traffic had delayed their arrival. Without hesitation, Daniel handed his backpack to a neighbor and rushed toward the building. Years of emergency training instantly returned. He covered his mouth with his jacket, stayed low beneath the thick smoke, and carefully climbed the narrow staircase. Every second felt longer than the last. He found the elderly man collapsed near a hallway, struggling to breathe. Supporting his weight, Daniel guided him back toward the exit just as firefighters arrived. The crowd erupted into applause as the old couple embraced each other through tears. Reporters quickly appeared, eager for another dramatic story about the mysterious single father. Daniel slipped away before anyone could interview him. He did not rescue the man for recognition. He rescued him because leaving him behind had never been an option. The fire chief later visited Daniel's workplace to thank him personally. He praised Daniel's courage but admired something even greater, his humility. News of the rescue spread throughout the community, yet Daniel reported to work the next morning exactly as he always had, carrying his lunchbox and greeting everyone with the same quiet smile. Inspired by his actions, local volunteers organized a neighborhood safety program. Daniel reluctantly agreed to teach basic emergency preparedness on weekends. Instead of demonstrating combat skills, he showed families how to respond during fires, perform first aid, and remain calm during emergencies. Parents appreciated his practical advice, and children admired his patience. Slowly, Daniel realized that he could use his past to serve others without returning to the life he had left behind. Months passed, and Lily watched her father become a symbol of quiet leadership. She noticed that people no longer talked only about the famous Café incident. They talked about the man who fixed broken playgrounds without asking for payment, who carried groceries for elderly neighbors, and who always stopped to help strangers whose cars had broken down on the roadside. Those ordinary acts left a far greater impression than the dramatic 2 seconds that had first made him famous. One evening, Lily surprised her father with a handmade scrapbook. Inside were photographs, school drawings, newspaper clippings, and handwritten notes describing the moments she admired most. To Daniel's surprise, the viral Café picture was not on the first page. Instead, the opening page showed a simple drawing of the two of them eating chocolate cake together. Beneath it, Lily had written, "My hero isn't brave because he knows how to fight. My hero is brave because he always chooses love." Daniel struggled to hold back tears. He had received medals during his military career, but none of them compared to the words written by his daughter. Years later, when Lily graduated from college, she stood before hundreds of people to deliver the student commencement speech. She spoke about resilience, forgiveness, and the quiet heroes who shape lives without seeking recognition. She shared the story of a father who had every reason to become bitter after losing so much, yet who chose compassion every single day instead. The audience listened in complete silence. At the end of her speech, Lily looked toward the front row where Daniel sat with tears filling his eyes. She thanked him for proving that courage is not measured by the battles we win but by the love we continue to give after life has broken our hearts. The crowd rose to its feet in a standing ovation. Daniel remained seated for a moment, overwhelmed by emotion. He realized that every sacrifice, every sleepless night, every extra work shift, and every difficult decision had led to this unforgettable moment. His greatest accomplishment had never been surviving dangerous missions overseas. It had been raising a daughter whose heart reflected every lesson he had tried to teach her. As father and daughter embraced after the ceremony, Daniel looked toward the sky and silently remembered Lily's mother. He hoped she could somehow see the incredible young woman their little girl had become. In that quiet moment, the weight he had carried for years finally seemed lighter. If this story has touched your heart, please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who believes that kindness is stronger than hatred. Your support helps these stories reach people who may need hope today. Special request: Before this story ends, leave a comment saying, "Kindness creates heroes." We'd also love to know which moment moved you the most. The world never forgot the extraordinary 2 seconds that silenced an entire cafe, but those who truly knew Daniel Harper remembered something far more important. They remembered a father who chose peace over pride, forgiveness over revenge, and love over fear. His legacy was never the speed of his hands, it was the gentleness of his heart. Long after the video faded from the internet and people moved on to other headlines, the lives he had quietly changed continued to spread kindness from one person to another. And in the end, that was the greatest victory any hero could ever achieve.